Hi, I would like to introduce Mr. Lateef Johnson. Lateef, welcome to Masterclass.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So I would like to give you some background on Lateef in case you don't know him. He has been a counselor for 12 years. He actually started off his career at the collegiate level as an advisor and counselor to students within that arena for 2.5 years before transitioning to the K through 12 system. Within that, he has been a counselor for 12 years, and the last 4 of them have been at our awesome Indian Hill High School.
The best 4 years of my life.
Oh, we love that. We love that. Lateef's face might look familiar to some of you because he's often part of the counseling team as they present information to groups of people like our parents. And additionally, he's really great about sharing his knowledge on social media. What you might not know about Lateef is he's also one heck of a hype guy. And so he's the one who's helping us with those things that really bring a lot of spirit to a school like Assemblies. So did that do justice for all of your many talents?
I love kids through and through, and there is no doubt about it. I love the true engagement piece of school. Of course, it's about learning, but of course, it's all about the olive branches and the activities and the clubs that really make the experience.
Right,
so.
right. I appreciate that, and that reminds me a little bit of our strategic plan. And we have 3 big focus areas: learners as doers, learners as individuals, and learners as the whole child.
Sure.
And I think it's really important for us as a school district to think about all 3 of those aspects of a child's life on a regular basis. For this particular segment, I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about school life integration, which is one of our initiatives, and we've been thinking about what that could mean for our students right now.
Sure.
When you hear about school life integration, what are some helpful hints that you can share with us?
Sure. When I think about school life integration, that sounds very fancy. I just boil it down to school life balance.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
and really, if we bottom line it, we recognize all of our kids are in multiple spaces. We have multiple identities. We're a kid on the team here. We're someone's child. We're an employee. We're someone's brother, sister, or sister. It's how do we integrate those and show up in those spaces as we need to show up into it, and that can be tricky, especially for developing youth. You know, that we have to fulfill identities and again show up in spaces, and it requires us to be flexible and rigid in sometimes, but we never want to get ourselves lost. So when I think about just the school balance, I always kind of think about it in 3 different ways. You know, making sure that kids have systems in place that they really are being aware of what do they have to do. So really just truthfully planning and staying organized, really thinking about what is it that I'm involved with, what type of commitment daily or weekly am I making, and how am I going to sculpt out that time to do what I know I need to do. One of the things I recognize, of course, I'm a counselor, so health and wellness is always on the forefront of my mind.
Right.
I recognize the importance of scheduling self-care time, the beauty of scheduling nothing. And really scheduling nothing is something. And so I think that's one of the things that I really preach to the students that I work with, is that doing nothing sometimes is what we need to get reestablished, refocused, re-energized. The second thing is thinking about school balance is the power of saying no. You know, we're huge on making sure that students are advocates for themselves. And I think one of those skill sets that we have to really be intentional about, whether guardians, whether teachers, whether school administrators, whatever, is empowering kids to say, I'm gonna set this boundary. This isn't going to work for me. And I'm not saying that kids can just ebb and flow out of responsibilities, but there is an element of self-advocacy that we need to continue to build in kids K-12 to say, this isn't going to work for me. Let me tell you how this could work and how I can make this work. So the power of saying no. And then really when I kind of think about kind of the last thing of school balance, it really kind of boils down to, I kind of have this acronym, it's PAW. So it's planning, advocacy, and then W is just really like a work-life balance overall. So just thinking, what am I doing for my wellness is kind of, what do I need to get refueled? What do I need to do to stay grounded in me and stay connected to the things that make me me? So yeah.
that is great advice for our students. I have to be honest, probably great advice for me when I think about it. When you think about school life balance, school life integration, how important is it for school districts to be thinking about a topic like that?
Yes, yes. It comes as no surprise. Again, I'm a counselor. So when I think about students and really the basic tenet that this district seems to be rooted on, it's really looking at the whole child. A little secret here, that's where my training is rooted in. As a comprehensive school professional counselor, we are continuously thinking about the whole sphere and all of the spheres and levels of and dimensions of children. And so I think it's very important that districts recognize the importance of working with the whole child and recognizing that we have a responsibility to foster development, not only academically in the classroom with our amazing teachers, but also thinking about the experiences that help them step into those spheres of leadership, step into those spheres of uncomfort. Even if you don't know how to do something, how is this school supporting you so that you can grow, you can learn, you can get better? So I think sculpting experiences for kids is a huge component outside of the classroom. You know, we need to give students voice and give them choice. And so as we allow that to happen in the various schools, that really allows kids to depthen their understanding of who they are, create an awareness, a self-awareness, again, building those advocacy skills and leadership skills. So yes, comprehensively, school districts have to make space to look at kids comprehensively, because the days of school only being about what you're learning in the four walls with an individual teacher, that's a moot point. You know, we have to have kids and create experiences for kids for them to use their learning in multiple spaces. And I have a personal philosophy. I believe that anything that teachers are presenting kids, it has to be able to be generalized in spaces outside of just a classroom. If it can't be used in another space outside the presence of that teacher or that classroom, we've got to think, is that really beneficial for us to be doing? But I'll stop on that notion right there. So, but it's true. It's about giving kids a skill set that they can use in multiple arenas throughout the duration of their K-12 life and beyond from graduation.
There's a couple things that you said that really spoke to me, and one of them is that idea of self-advocacy. For those people who don't know, coming through the halls of Indian Hill High School, they're just some of the most tremendous students I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and they're full of like manners and they're polite and they're compliant.
Yes.
I mean, I have never, if you pass out a piece of paper, and even if it's like a test, every student says, thank you, or at the end of the day as they leave a class, they say, thank you to the teacher. There's like, there's just something really special.
There is.
And thank you to all the parents for sending us these like special children.
Yes.
But because of that, they're not used to the idea of advocacy. So how important is that for them to practice that here? That really resounded for me.
Yes, just the skill of advocacy in general. Absolutely. It is the cornerstone of our existence and who we are. If you don't know who you are and can't verbalize that to somebody else, there's no way that you're going to get what you need in life. And I know there's different tiers and levels of comfort level with that, but everything that we do has to kind of grow from that space, that I know who I am, I know what makes me unique, I know what I'm strong at, I also know what I'm not good at, and I need to be intentional about building that skill and that comfort level. And we do that, especially in the counseling department, we can do that with a lot of fluff and love and support, but this is the time to do that so that when you're thrusted into the real world or a different environment outside of the K-12 life, that you feel comfortable and you at least have some tools in your toolbox and experiences that you can draw on and know, I overcame that before, I had this experience before, let me use that again so that I'm not starting from scratch, you know.
It also reminds me of when we often think about a high school counselor, we think about readiness for the next stage of life. And sometimes that can look in looking at applying for collegiate settings, especially very competitive collegiate settings. And I know that that's something that our high school counselors are excellent at doing. But you bring up such a good point. if we only think about the child and you as a counseling team only have skills in that area, we're really missing some really important parts of what does it mean for readiness of the next stage of life.
Absolutely.
So I am so appreciative to work with people like you, Lateef, and the other high school counselors who think about the whole child when they're counseling them on their journey through high school and then what they're going to do after high school.
Yes, great.
So great. I bet you there might be some people who are watching this thinking, oh, this is new information to me. What are some resources that I can go to as a family?
Sure. Yeah, I was looking at just this morning some of our district resources online. And really, when I think about school life balance, it really comes down to, again, overall student wellness, mental health. So if I think about our district partners that we have, we are partners with 1 in 5.
Yes.
We are partners with Mind Peace
Yes.
Cincinnati and partners with children.
Yeah.
As I did a kind of an overview of their
Yeah.
website, they have some great resources and resource pages for parents that can really target areas where there might need to be some more intentional learning or growth in. So that would be a great place to start. But also, if you simply Google, this is where technology is wonderful.
Right.
You know, when I Googled school life balance, it provided me a number of resources, some collegiate studies, some articles that were intended for elementary students to middle school, up to even working professionals, or graduate students, if you will. So I think that was also very powerful because those articles were written in ways that anybody can access. So, and I think the beauty of that, it was a reminder to me that school life balance is an individual process. It's a self type of thing. So I think accessing and looking at a variety of sources could be great. And you know, you pick and choose what makes most sense to you as a student and you in the systems that you're involved in. So a simple Google search, never forget the power of your own individual research.
Right.
Of course, we're here as counselors to help. If you are in a spot where you know you or your child are struggling with what's best for me, we're always available to consult with and work with and coach kids up and do some individual counseling as needed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you think about all the aspects, and we often think of our students really being able to thrive in academics and arts and athletics. And sometimes that balance gets askew. It doesn't seem to be in the right order.
Sure.
What would be some signs that a parent can kind of think of their own child and be like, I probably need to make a phone call at this point?
Oh, that's a really great point. I think that leads, I just kind of hit it a little bit. I think it's important for parents to remember the teams that they have that are surrounding their children on a daily basis. Clearly the educational teams here, the counselors, teachers, administration, are a part of a child's team. So I think keeping the school abreast on challenges that are arising or things that you may be concerned with, I think that's going to be really important. But I also don't want to overlook the power of a conversation. As parents and as guardians, you are your child's number one support system, you know. So when you have a gut inclination that something's off, see something, say something. That's something that we say with our students. If we see things that are off with our peers, we need to kind of bring those things up. So the same thing would hold true for a parent or a guardian. Have that time where you can have open and honest conversations with your kids. If you're seeing things, if your kids are disengaging in activities that they once liked and now they have a hate for them, or their performance in school has decreased, or you're seeing drastic shifts in like sleeping or eating, those are all moments to pause and say, hey, you know, what's going on? Can you get me abreast on where you're at? And then, like you said, making some phone calls to figure out who it is we need to loop in, when, and how that help needs to look for an individual student. So again, at the school level, we are here to help students, again, have a experience, and we're thinking about kids comprehensively. And of course, that means staying well physically, emotionally, and having good, solid coping skills to work through the challenges that our kids are going to face, for sure.
Right. So. That's great advice. Great advice. Well, let's talk about the 2023-2024 school year.
Frozen?
This is true. Frozen is coming. I think that, believe it or not, it's that time of year where, as a school district, we're already starting to plan for the next school year.
Yes.
And for you,
Yes,
there's going to
yes.
be a shift. So
There
instead of
is.
being a traditional high school counselor, which we
Yes.
have loved to see you in that role, you're going to
Yes.
have a new title, which is the
Yes.
Student Engagement and Campus Life Coordinator.
Yes,
So
yes,
super
yes.
exciting.
I'm excited.
Tell us a little bit about that role and how you think it's
Sure.
going to impact students.
Sure, when this role came up, I could not look into it.
Yeah.
It is truly a role that is going to be rooted in working with students and staff and administration at the ground level, really being a critical evaluator of what are we doing in our schools, K-12, that adds value to the IH Brave experience. So you can think of the role in kind of a three-tiered approach. So level one would be working with individual students, individual established clubs and activities, and really helping them to continuously assess, what are we doing here? Is this organization or is this small group meeting my needs? What are things that I need to change about these groups, or things that I want to do and plan for my individual track? How can I integrate that into my experience? And so I'm going to be able to work with, again, kids individually and in small groups to really help them sculpt those experiences that they're dreaming about but have yet to live. So it's a little bit of consultation that I'll be able to work with kids, work with them through a consultation lens, through a hands-on lens, helping them to be a voice when they can't get into certain spaces. So that's kind of level one. Level two is working with teachers directly, doing a lot of really evaluating our co-curricular offerings. We talked about it before. What we learn in a classroom has to have real world applicability. If we can't use that learning outside of the classroom, then what's its use? So really helping teachers to continue to be innovative and creative and think about how we can make that learning live and breathe outside of that classroom. And so that's going to be an exciting role. I'm going to be in all schools, in all buildings, working with kids. So if you don't know me, get ready, because I do. I'm excited to have a footprint with students K-12. And then that top tier, level 3, is really building in district level programming and thinking about what is it that our administrative and counseling teams expect as cumulative, comprehensive experiences for our individual grades, but also being a bridge between like elementary school to primary, and even primary to high school. There's greatness going on in all of our schools. How do we tap into that energy of programming that's happening at the primary school and leverage some of our high school students to support the initiatives that are important to other buildings, and vice versa. Primary school students need our help, high school students need their help. So this is really going to be a great role to really think about what's going on organically in our schools that needs additional support, but also beginning to reimagine some of the things that need a refreshing. So yeah.
It's super exciting. That was a great explanation.
Was it?
Super, yes, and it's exciting. We are a small district, and we're even geographically located so close to each other.
Sure.
And one of the great opportunities that we have is to really think about the entire experience that a student gets from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, and do those experiences build on each other over time. And I think someone in your role who gets to see the whole picture, K through 12, is going to be so beneficial for our entire school district. I am so excited for you, and I'm so excited for the students. In the role that I have, one of the greatest joys of my position is seeing children when they first enter and getting to know them when they're in kindergarten and knowing them all the way through, and then seeing them graduate. Like every year at graduation, it's hard for me not to be tearful, because I can remember them when they were little tiny human beings with us, and you're going to get that opportunity to know students over a trajectory of time, and they're going to have you as a solid part of their life for 13 years. And that's going to be
crazy
incredible.
to hear. It's
going to be
it's
incredible.
a dream position rooted in students and working directly with kids to, again, make sure that their visions can come to life and that they can have the best Brave experience that they envisioned for themselves. So,
It's going to, and I imagine you'll be here again talking about all the great things that are happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not going anywhere. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I did not make you sing, though. Let's be honest, you've got some pipes. You can bust out a song for us.
Yeah, I could.
Next time. We'll save that for next time.
I got to save some of my tricks
Yeah.
for something. So.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
I've
Dr.
learned so
Stewart.
much already. And thank all of you for being part of Masterclass.
Thank you.